Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I am Shannon. I'm a copywriter and content creator here at Frontify, and today we're going to walk you from A to Z of everything that Frontify has to offer. And a big part of my job is to create and share compelling, informative content about our software and brand management. And I am coming to you from our headquarters in St. Gallen, Switzerland, joined afar by the lovely Jackie.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks so much for the intro. I'm Jackie. I am the U.S. co-lead here at Frontify, based out of our new New York headquarters as well. So really excited to introduce potential clients as well as current clients to the world of Frontify.
Awesome. So I think we'll just get started with a brief overview of what we're covering today. The first of which is who we are, then what we do, and also dig into a little bit of how others are using our software as an example. And then we'll take you on a tour with a demo by Jackie. And just quickly want to mention that any of the questions you send our way during the webinar, we will actually follow up with an email in a few days, and you'll have all the question answers and these slides as well included. So yeah, sound good?
Great.
Okay. So to get started on who we are a Swiss company, and we were founded in 2013. As I mentioned, I'm in St. Gallen. That's sort of the first location. We also have sister offices in Frankfurt, Germany, and Newly, New York, which is super exciting. And we're over 90 employees right now. We're always bringing on new talent, so it's quite possible by the time we wrap this webinar that we'll have a few more really talented people joining our ranks. So that's really awesome. And I think it's helpful that we share our mission because this is ultimately what drives us. And that is to create the best, most user-friendly brand management platform, one that enables anyone to deliver compelling and consistent brand experiences. I think it's really important that we achieve this not only through a really high quality digital platform that meets sort of the sweeping needs of our customers across various industries, markets, but also that we're, people for people. We're there to help support you and guide you through every step of the process, from onboarding all the way through to learning about new tools and updates along the way. So we think that's pretty cool, and also particularly special is our ability to connect teams across the board and not just a select few, so that this is a really cohesive space for everyone to be involved. We can't emphasize that enough, that everyone really should be using Frontify. And to expand on this just a little bit, our North Star sort of our driving force is our vision that every strong brand in the world is created and managed using Frontify. And here are just a few of the customers that are working with us. So we have a worldwide clientele base of varying businesses in different industries, markets, company sizes. We really want to work with all brands to help shape and strengthen their experiences and also meet their very unique needs. I think that's really important to us, that we pay attention to sort of the specific requirements of each customer that we're working with, and really take that back to the product, make sure that we're checking all those boxes for everyone. So what is Frontify? I think it might be helpful to take a look at a solution through one of our enterprise customers, Lufthansa. So they've actually been working with us from the beginning, since 2013. And even went through a rebrand using our software. Before adopting Frontify, they were working with a really complicated portal for their brand that was super tough to update. It lacked kind of flexibility and the connectivity that you really need when you're working with a good-sized team. And one of their primary goals was to enable consistent brand performances across the entire organization, which is about 120,000 people, so not an easy feat. And one of the really big challenges there was finding a way to manage all of the touch points with all of the stakeholders involved. So Obviously all of these things sort of came to light and were solved when they worked with Frontify, which is super exciting for us. And before getting to that happy place, they had a few pain points that they were really dealing with. So the first of which is working with PDF guidelines. I think that's a topic that we can go on for days about. The struggle is real with static guidelines. So yeah, not super awesome. They also had a really decentralized review process, which is super tough for design. All that constant back and forth all over the place, really difficult to keep track of. Then there were the brand assets, which were inaccessible and, again, just super tough to share, which presents its own set of challenges. And UI patterns were not being reused. So there was that issue of continuing to reinvent the wheel every time a new project came up. So yeah, and I think it's important to remember, as Lufthansa was able to address a lot of their issues with Frontify, that we're not just for big companies. I think we're really creating customized, scalable solutions for all sorts of businesses, from freelancers to corporations. So this goes for agencies as well, who are often juggling multiple clients in addition to managing their own brand. And at the end of the day, for us, regardless of a business size or type, we want to make sure that everyone's basic brand management needs are being met. So yeah, and I think, sort of those commonalities that everyone shares is improving the way internal and external shareholders work together and exchange information, making sure it's as seamless as possible. And it's also really important, especially when you're adopting a new software, is that it's user-friendly and accessible and just super intuitive and easy to maintain, which you can proudly say we are. And at the end of the day, it's about making everyone's life easier and being more efficient so that they have time to do what they do best. So yeah, really important stuff. And so next we're going to go to a quick product overview that just kind of gives you the lay of the land before we move on to the next interesting step of a demo. So first there's our style guide, and this is really the foundation where a brand's core is defined with cloud-based guidelines, and where sort of all those key brand elements live and are shared, like your font, your logos, the tone of voice, how you'd write something, and always up to date. That's super key here. Next, we've got the media library for organizing, managing, locating brand-related assets, like imagery, icons, videos. The pattern library, that's where those UI patterns will live for easy accessibility and reusability. And again, no more of that reinventing the wheel business. The workspace would be the next one, and that's sort of where interdisciplinary collaboration can hit its stride. Here, you can create custom workflows, create new projects, give feedback, go through approvals really quickly in a super easy way that everyone can sort of follow along the entire timeline of a project. And then our newest feature, which is really exciting, is the publisher. And we love this because it sort of enables anyone to leverage the magic of templates and create beautifully designed, always on brand material without a designer, which is super nice for everyone. So that's kind of the overview in a nutshell. And I'm going to turn it over to Jackie to walk us through all of these amazing tools.
Thanks so much, Shannon. So as Shannon mentioned, there's a lot of different modules and features around Frontify. And, we'll kind of walk you through a use case that we've built specifically for a demo environment called Monobrand. And to kind of pull the curtain over is we'll jump in directly into the Frontify environment. So to just give you an idea of what this looks like from a user side is, as we've mentioned, we really want to be the single source of truth for a brand. So when you get invited to a Frontify environment, you're not actually going to see the toggle bar. This is really kind of the navigation location where everything happens as you build out your brand and style guide. As an end user, really what you're gonna see is just this perspective here, which starts off as your cover page. So really what's important to note here is this is fully customizable and is also designed to be an efficient way for teams to be able to go in and really seek out the location that they want to jump in directly. So you might have multiple team members working across one Frontify environment, and Lufthansa is a really great example of that. But you might have certain freelancers as well as internal and external stakeholders that you just want to drive to certain locations. So as you can see from the clickable cover pages, you're really able to jump into the style guide environment. So this left-hand power bar is something that you're just going to see when you are in kind of that editor mode. And really the design is meant to be fairly intuitive and allows you to not only develop your style guide from either scratch or a basic setup, which is going to actually populate a variety of these kind of key definitions of what goes into building a brand, but there's also the advanced style guide. So just kind of jumping back to the cover page to showcase just how easy it is to create this is you can see here when you go into the editing mode is there's a variety of settings where you can set section width, creating margins, allowing for background color changes, and really being able to build this out in a sense that you can create sections based on what we call our smart content blocks. And essentially what these are predefined locations where you can set up locations where there's going to be additional images, you can add titles, and actually within these sections as well is having the ability to link out. So as you saw before within the home page here is when you go back into that viewer mode is being able to build it in a way that you can jump right into your style guide. So really when you're going through and building out your style guide is it's important to note that you have a navigation along the top that's completely customizable. You can also build in targets. So you'll see this here on the left-hand side as well as the right-hand side. But I think driving back to what Shannon was talking about is we're at a time where brands have so many people involved in really making sure that their vision and mission is clear, as well as keeping things consistent. So we've actually built out targets where you can actually simulate and showcase only certain sections of the environment to internal clients, your sales team, you know, coming from the sales side, I'm sure there's plenty of things that marketing would like me not to have my hands on until it's ready. So really the way that Frontify was built is to be an easy single source solution where everything is going to drive back to your style guide. And just kind of jumping in to show you some of this inline editing is when you push through your information and building out your brand logo, you can also funnel down additional breaking points where you can section out your master brand, your logo variations, and being able to drag and drop right from your desktop. So going into your logo library, and if I wanted to add an additional logo, really intuitive and easy to do so here. And then having the ability while you're in that edit mode is to dictate what this would be. This is the smaller SVG file. So from, you know, the perspective of someone sitting within your team that might be building this out is it's really an efficient and easy way to make sure that all of your information is housed in a very clean way. So just to kind of jump in a little bit further on color palettes is also being able to set the style and tone of your brand. So as you can see here for mono brand, we've put through a number of the main colors, and there's the ability to have them as drops, lists, or cards, and also building out your color variations as well. So if I wanted to just add in a new color, I have the ability to do so within each of these blocks. You can reference that within other locations outside of your style guide. And, you know, if somebody's jumping into the environment, the really nice thing is the style guide itself is actually searchable up here in the top. So if I wanted to know what the color swatches are, there's a drop down with all of the sections and pages, and anywhere that content wise there are actually references to color. One of the things that I also love about the means of which you're able to funnel information into Frontify is through typography. So really being able to build this out in a way that you can go back to what you saw on the cover page with those smart content blocks. And actually there's an additional drop down of over 40 different smart content blocks that if I wanted to add in my font kit, I can drag and drop that in. But from the perspective of utilizing Typekit, Font Deck, or Google Fonts is really being able to just search for exactly what you need. So mono brand was Droid Sans Mono. It will actually funnel through the web-based font as well as usage location for HTML and CSS. So really what you see here is this is a means for not only marketing and sales, but also your design and development team to really have one location that they can collaborate. And the great thing about setting your font on the front end is what you'll see here along that navigation bar in your settings. Once you've created the style guide is you're able to actually drop in what your main font is based on what your style guide dictates, creating content that will all link back to what your main colors are for your brand, and having that actually funnel through to the rest of the platform. So if you see here, there's also the ability to create kind of those colorations based on your style guide into the login, and really having this be a location that your team is able to really collaborate from an individual sense as well as from a group sense. So within the style guide, you're able to invite new users across this. And if I wanted to invite Shannon, which she is already a member of this, I can add a note and set her role, whether she'll just be viewing the platform, having the ability to translate it, so having multilingual options within an editor and an owner, which are kind of considered your super users that get to delete information. And the one thing to note there is the owner is actually the person that can fully delete your style guide. So if you see here, we've got a few super users that have the ability to delete this also. You can also within your team create groups. So if you want to just share certain sections of your pattern library or your style guide with a group internally, is being able to set those up as well. And going back into just kind of the way the style guide is set up is we don't have it funneled through here, but one of the great things about Frontify is the various integrations we have. So being able to pull analytics to understand who across your team, both internally and externally, is viewing and visiting the site, and also understanding what they've downloaded. So is there a specific type of typography that they're really downloading? Are there photography and visual aspects that seem to be getting a lot of hits? And as you can see here is just another example of some of the smart content blocks where you can go in and add descriptions across photos. Really nice for visual elements here is the do's and don'ts for your brand. So making sure that everything within your style guide is going to be consistent, not from just the perspective of where it's housed on Frontify, but how you push that out across a variety of other platforms. So as you can see here, these are the do's and don'ts for social media. And playing off of, you know, what we do here at Frontify is really, you know, taking what you do across style guide and being able to have that be a living, breathing source of truth where you can funnel your assets through. So I think Shannon mentioned that, if you have a large stack of logos as well as icons, we do have specific repository locations that live on the back end that you can actually do smart filtering and search for logos, being able to download the specific packs, and then uniquely being able to also have a specific icon library. So having the ability to pre-dictate what kinds of file formats you want this to be available for download, swapping out coloration across it, and also funneling through metadata. And the great thing to note about when you go into the metadata, and we'll jump into that a little bit more from the media library perspective, is having these downloadable assets locked, either with copyright status, that any person that downloads any assets across Frontify will receive a copyright notice, and also locking some of the download features. So if you have certain people you just want to view your assets, is making sure that there's a way to independently and efficiently manage your icons and logos in a seamless way, but also making sure that there is settings across it where certain team members are able to just view versus download, and having that request for download as well. But to just jump a little bit further into our media library, which I think is a really beautiful and streamlined way of funneling through your assets, is there's the ability to create collections. And when you go into more of the viewer mode, is having the ability to not only search within your style guide from the top layer, but also to independently search within your specific media library for specific file types. So one of the things to note about Frontify is you're not limited to just funneling through photo assets here, as you can put through animations and videos and really drill down to specific markets, the orientation of the types of photos, what are the environments, and these are actually all things that you can edit and predefine. You can add in additional facets and actually have them be related. So if you want just for market perspective within Europe, that would then signal a drill down to specific cities within Europe. So really deep ways that you can kind of drill down information and make it easy for your team to find the right assets that you need. So taking off some of the facets I've put across, is one thing that I think is really interesting to note is you can really configure everything yourself. So everything from being able to create these filters, but also to actually link through to any of your stock providers. So having the ability to source videos and images that might not be created specifically by your brand, but are things that you've actually purchased through a stock provider. And when you jump into the actual asset, is having the ability to tag them from the perspective of built out tags in the back end, but also to associate them with collections, which I'll jump into a little bit more. And also setting download sizes. So if you have specific photos and assets that live across various campaigns, is setting the right file size type for download. And very intuitive, is there's no access set where you can't download these, but if there was metadata that dictated that there was a copyright notice or copyright status or request for download, when someone clicked the download button, that's where they would be triggered. And one of the things to note along here, you'll see collections. So this is a nice way of building out folders that would have specific kind of asset packs that are available for download. So if you have a new Facebook campaign coming up, having this easily accessible for your team to know what are the assets that will live there. But also you can see here this Jackie demo collection, which is my own private collection that is only available to me, where I can filter through the types of assets and images, as well as videos that I would like to include in that. So really the idea behind, the media library is to act as, a dam solution, but also it brings up the question is once you have all of these assets built and you have your style guide funneled through is, you can take all of these assets and actually integrate it into other facets of what we do here at Frontify. So this would then navigate into our projects, which is going to be where workspace as well as publisher lives. And one thing actually I'll go into a little bit before we get into the projects is the additional feature of the pattern library. So, the pattern library is a location where this will have all of the things that you would need to create your website and application. So this isn't typically funneled through any kind of traditional PDF style guide where you can actually simulate what these particular buttons are going to look like across your desktop, the default setting, and really showcasing just additional snippets of your buttons. And then when you go into a project is having those all housed on the back end that they can be utilized for projects. So also having the ability here within your pattern library to have this access for download. So I think this kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out when you have new freelancers or team members joining your team is, this becomes your North Star for onboarding and also for managing assets to make sure they're the most up to date. But to just kind of jump a little bit into the centralization of Frontify around what we do on the front end with the style guide, logos, icon, media library is, how can this actually help cut down on back and forth collaboration? So really what I want to do is showcase to you how Frontify with Workspace as well as with Publisher can actually, within a few clicks, help you create projects that are all based on a guideline. So, for this kind of particular use case is you can actually create workflows that are going to be based on either predetermined settings that you've put into play. So you can see here is you're able to build out workflows and create these kind of lanes where you can assign owners that are going to have to put approvals through. And this is a really nice way to make sure that all of the stakeholders involved know what their kind of tasks are, what dates and times they need to approve things. And to just give you an idea from going back to a lot of what we have on the mono brand style guide is having those do's and don'ts across Facebook campaigns, which you might remember from earlier is one of the things they mentioned is not keeping light font across a lot of their Facebook programs because it's very hard to read. So if I was a designer and coming in, I may go through and funnel through this template. So one thing to note is you have the ability to upload sketch and InDesign files in a really seamless way. Whereas you can see up here is you can upload a new asset. You can also build based off of a template. And so for the purposes of this particular demo, as a quick and easy moment is we've pushed through this JPEG of what we would anticipate a Facebook campaign would be. And from my predetermined workflow, what I'm able to do is comment and also ask for approval. So my design workflow actually has Ari and Nico involved, and I can ask them, Nico, is this on brand? And call out those specific locations. So really being able to comment and make requests. So, and really go into specific locations where we want to call out what are the colors. And as you can see here, when you go into kind of that eyedropper is your colors that you've pushed through into Frontify on the style guide are all going to auto populate here. You also, when you've built out patterns, one of the great things is if you have a pattern library is your UI library will also live across your project. So for the particular campaign that we're working on here, this is going to be static, so won't require any of the predetermined patterns, but something good to note that everything that you do and design on the front end will be pushed through to the back end and vice versa. So to just kind of showcase to you, if I've gone through and actually asked for needing review, I can see and change the status here. I can also upload my revisions so that there's going to be the ability to showcase that things have been changed and approved. So you're not going to be trying to go through and figure out what is the most recent revision. So you'll see here, I had commented to Nico, is this on brand? And he might go back and comment back to me. He's going to work on a revision. Here's where he would be able to upload it. And you'll see here that now when you go back into the project, the most recent version will be available. So once you kind of have this template built, you know, within our workspace and utilizing workflow to project manage everything, this is where our publisher comes into play. So the ability to actually, you know, go through our templates that have been built or kind of approved campaigns and then work through into this design template that can be pushed through from a web to print or web to publish feature is one of the things I'm really excited about with Frontify. So as you can see here, you're back in projects, and this is the back end of the publishing templates. So you'll see here that I have a few of those design templates from my Facebook ad. But to just showcase to you where this lives is I've now set some of the facets within this particular image file that my colleague and I have built. And I want my team on marketing to be able to change some of the text and be able to actually change out the photo based on my media library. So here's really where you can build out an efficient way to take templates that have been built within Sketch or InDesign or any of the tools you're using that then funnel through to Frontify in a workspace aspect for a quick and easy way to actually change text and all keep it brand safe and consistent. So that's really what we're trying to do here is maximize that nothing is getting pushed out across social as well as to print that could go against your brand guidelines. So as you'll see here from the view mode this is the template that was built. I've already changed the photo, but to show you how quick and easy it actually is I'm now in an edit mode and I can easily replace the photo, and I've pre-selected that this all can come through from the media library. So if I'm talking about the summer sale and I want to focus on a really summery photo, I do the nice summer image. And if I don't feel like I'm getting exactly the location within the photo that I want, is being able to kind of drag and drop and crop to various locations, which also to note can be set by the designer and the marketing team to change alignment. You can also restrict those image choices. So if you're working with stock assets versus your own image assets, if you want to restrict that to certain images, you can do so as well. And not only is it the photo that is able to be changed, as you can also have the ability to change font size and also change what the text actually says. So once I'm finished and I've got my Facebook campaign ready, is I can then select a category for my template, which you would then see on the front end. So this is going to be on social media. I would then publish this template. I can also download it, but just from the perspective of seeing, the back end of all of these file folders where you can manage your social media campaign, your business cards, and internal branding, is showcasing to you what that actually looks like for the end user. So from a viewer perspective is when you get into this full cover page of Monobrand, as you'll see workspace here for any of those templates, for any of those design elements that you want to create together. But when you go into templates, it's actually going to pull up new publications. And here you'll see the new Facebook campaign that I created that one of my team members can go in and create FY19 Summer Facebook. And voila, based on all of the elements I've selected from an editing perspective, as you can see that I would have the ability to just go in and replace and crop some photos. And, it's just a really nice way that what we're able to do is really help manage your brand from the perspective of making sure that your departments are not only working together, but helping to create those efficiencies across your entire team. And there's a lot more to Frontify, but to, not spend a few hours on, jumping into more of the features, that we always welcome questions and are always happy, whether that be in the US or abroad, to jump on a demo and further discuss all of the needs of your brand. So I will lead it back to Shannon and a little bit more about where you can access this webinar. And we'll get there. Oops, sorry. And all right.
Well, thank you, Jackie. That was a wonderful walkthrough. I think it's really tough to try and just cover the tip of the iceberg because there's so much. So like Jackie said, if you'd like to learn more, make sure to reach out and we'd be happy to walk you through a demo. You can even sign up for a free trial to just test things out on your own because for some of us, there's no better way to learn than doing. So I would highly recommend doing that. And if you'd like to learn about more of our upcoming webinars, go to frontify.com/webinars. You can also gain access to any prior that we've run. So that's really cool. If you see anything else you're interested in, make sure to sign up and download those. And that's pretty much it for now. Thanks everyone for joining us, and for Jackie in New York and me in St. Gallen. We really hope to hear from you soon, and yeah, use Frontify.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Shannon, and thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.